she says, I no longer love you. And you'll find a little bit of a reversal here. Some of you are going to say, well, we're a little bit reversed. I need respect. I ask every woman who says that, are you in love with your husband? And you know the answer to that. See, he'll become insecure about your love when he senses you no longer love him. But most women want to love. It's within their nature to nurture. They love to love. You got to wound a woman for her to stop that. But in the deepest recess of her heart, she's designed by God to love, and she wants love in response. I just wish he loved me as much as I love him. That's the typical sentiment. So guys don't lack assurance. That's why when you bring that marriage book home to him, he doesn't say, you don't love me. He doesn't process it that way. He knows you love him. And even if he were to say, you don't love me, you say, I do too. Don't you say that. You see, that's an affront to your nature. You would rebuke him. But you might go on to say, but no, I don't feel any respect for you right now. So what happens in the marriage relationship, because he's under command to agape love, he does that less by his nature. That's why God commands him to love, because it's not within his nature to love like you love. And that's why you long for him to be more loving, because you've sensed something within his nature. So when he feels disrespected, unfortunately, it's very natural for him to react in very unloving ways. But what I discovered is it's very natural for you to love, but when you feel unloved, it's very natural for you to react in very disrespectful ways. And this triggers the crazy cycle, big time. Now, are women conscious of this issue of love? Well, yes. Think of the 5th anniversary, and he comes home and he says, hey, it's our 5th. I've saved some extra money. I want to take you out to where do you want to go to eat? Where do you want to go? No, I don't know. No, it's our 5th. Where do you want to go? I don't know. Hey, no. Oh, come on. It's our 5th. I want to take you where you want to go. Where do you want to go? You decide. You want me to decide? Mm-hmm. No, I want to take you where you want to go. Where do you want to go? You decide. Really? Uh-huh. Hey, you know, I read in the Midwest magazine about the juiciest and best steaks in all of the Midwest. Do you know that truck stop out on Highway 96? I don't want to go there. He says, are you the woman I was just talking to? You're just picking a fight. You always pick a fight. I asked you where you want to go, and you tell me to decide. So I decide. Now you decide that we're not going to do what I decided. And then he stomps off, and she stomps off. Two good-willed people on their 5th are stomping off from one another. Good-willed people. Now, what in the world is Pink thinking at that moment? She's very conscious of love, gentlemen. She filters everything through Pink. And here's what she's processing. Here's how she's thinking. If he loves me as much as I love him, he'll figure out where it is I want to go without me having to tell him. Not wrong, just different. That's how God has wired her. That's why we laugh at that, because we've experienced that. But from a blue perspective, she lied. So who's right? Yes. Who's wrong? Yes. It just depends on whether you want to filter it through pink or blue. And people are divorcing over this kind of thing. My mom and dad divorced one another when I was 1. And then they remarried one another, for which I'm thankful. But then they separated for about 5 years and then came back together, for which I'm thankful. But all through my developmental time, Mom and Dad were good-willed people. Coming out of the World War II during the 50s were some of the greatest years this country ever experienced, with all the bloodshed of the war. And they were trying to reestablish. They were good-willed people. It was a good country. And they were on this crazy cycle. And I have the scars because of it, because no one explained to them how to get off of it. May I serve you and help you get off of this, because I don't want your children to cry themselves to sleep tonight, because Mommy and Daddy, who they both sense are good-willed people who would die for them, are fighting like cats and dogs and are proceeding with divorce and don't have to, because you're not evil-willed. Are men conscious of this need for respect? We had opportunity to contribute to some research. 400 men in America were surveyed by decision analysts. It was a random sample, great representative sample of America, not the church, just the American male. And it was wonderfully done. The question I asked and had contributed to this research was, when you're in a conflict with your wife or significant other, do you feel that she doesn't respect you during those conflicts, or she doesn't love you during those conflicts? 84% of the men said, I don't think she respects me during those conflicts. Few men feel unloved during conflicts. Why? Because it's within your nature to nurture and to love. And he just doesn't lack that unless you told him, I don't love you. There was another interesting question to ask to these 400 men. It's this. You men, would you rather be left alone and unloved in the world, or would you rather be viewed as inadequate and disrespected by everyone? Again, would you rather be left alone and unloved in the world, or would you rather be viewed as inadequate and disrespected by everyone? 74% of the men said they'd rather be left alone and unloved in the world. They cannot handle the idea of being viewed as inadequate and disrespected. Not wrong, just different. Jesus said, have you not read who made them from the beginning, made them male and female? Pink is no more wrong than blue is wrong. I mean, we don't say, pink is wrong. The color is wrong. The blue is wrong. No, it's just different. You want to get off the crazy cycle? The crazy cycle is very simple, and it happens to the best of us. Sarah and I get on it almost weekly in one way or another, because she interprets the world through pink. I do through blue. Can you say the crazy cycle with me? The way I say it is, without love, she reacts without respect. And then you start again at what I call 6 o'clock. Without respect, she reacts without love. Can we say that in unison? Without love, she reacts without respect. Without respect, he reacts without love. Again, without love, she reacts without respect. Without respect, he reacts without love. Turn in your book, and you'll see that red page. There you see the crazy cycle. And we get on it, and it spins. In fact, there was a couple, he came to me and he said, it's our 10th anniversary, and he said, I remembered. And that was the clue to me as well. And he said, over that decade, I had forgotten every year, and she had hinted, and I hadn't picked up on the hint. She had reminded me, and I'd forgotten, and she had said nothing, and I'd done nothing. But he said on the 10th, I remembered. And in fact, he said, I went to the drugstore, and I came into the area where the cards were, and I walked across toward that section. I was about 20 feet away, and I was looking at all these cards, and one of them just jumped out at me. I mean, I could just, the colors, the words, it was her. So I just went right toward it, grabbed the card, got the envelope, went to the counter, and purchased it, went home, and she was there unexpectedly. So I hurriedly went into another part of the house, signed it quickly, put it in the envelope, put her name on it, and brought it to her. And I came into her presence, handed it to her, and she beamed from ear to ear. I mean, her face, it was just unbelievable. The energy going into her was unreal. And she opens the card, starts to read it, and her face drops. Turns completely sour, and her eyes get dark immediately. And I said, what's wrong? She said, nothing. He said, there is two. No, there's not. There is two. What's wrong? She holds it up. Not bad for getting me a birthday card. He was in the birthday section. He didn't pay attention. Now, if that was your relationship, where would it go? Can't you see him going something? No way, let me see that. Unbelievable. You're unbelievable, all right. Hey, look, I made an honest mistake, okay? Give me a break. I'm about to right over the head. Hey, I can't believe you said that. I made an honest mistake, okay? You know what? What? If they detailed your car out, they painted a little line across, and it was a millionth of an inch off, you'd have noticed that. You'd have noticed that. You want to know why? Because you care about your car. And when people are careless about what you care about, you notice. You want to know why you're careless about this card? You don't care. Well, now she escalates it to character assassination. And he gets angry. I can't believe you said that. I can't believe you said that. I don't care. You know what? What? I'm glad I got you a birthday card. And two good-willed people are now stomping off on their 10th and other parts of the house, staring out the window saying, this is crazy. This is crazy. How does this keep happening to us? Why does this keep happening to us? And folks, it's happening to most of us here. Less, some of us are not as volatile. We're more avoidant type. We don't explode, but we simmer, and we're doing the same thing. We can't believe it. They keep stepping on my air hose. Get off my air hose. And so we push them off our air hose, and we step on theirs without seeing it. And then they push us off their air hose, and they step on ours but don't see it. You see, without love, defensively, she reacts offensively without respect. And without respect, defensively, he reacts offensively without love. And without love, defensively, she reacts offensively without respect. And without respect, defensively, he reacts offensively without love. You see, it's a defensive reaction. When she gets the diet book, she's defensively reacting. I can't believe this. I can't believe this. I feel so in love by you right now. I can't believe it. You may have two brains. One's lost. The other's out looking for it. You brainless idiot. I can't. And at a certain point, he no longer hears the deeper cry, do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? Reassure me that you love me. Instead, Gottman and others out of the University of Washington studied 2,000 couples for 20 years, and they discovered that men begin to hear negative criticism as contempt for who they are as men. And they no longer hear the cry of pink, and they only hear a put down for blue. And they react. And she feels unloved in the first place. Now she sees him reacting even more in loving ways. And women are divorcing now 2 to 3 times more than men are. It's called the walk-away woman. Because we're filtering marriages today through pink and pink alone. And women are confused. And this will be your daughter-in-law. Unless we change and bring about mutual understanding. But also without respect, defensively he reacts. Why does he shut down the marriage book? It's the third one, and he hears a message. He thinks that you don't approve of who he is. You used to glow during the courtship. You used to look up to him. You believed in him. Apart from his performance, you admired him. And that glow has left the first year of marriage, and he didn't know how to get it back. And now as he feels is that he knows you love him, but it's this ongoing message, change, change. I don't accept you. I don't approve of you. I don't respect who you are. And he defensively reacts. He just doesn't know what to do. He's not trying to be unloving. He's on the defensive. He's not trying to get up in the morning thinking, how can I be unloving? But when he shuts down on you, it feels unloving. And it's offensive. And so what's happening today, both are taking up offense. Men are saying, that's right, you're preaching, Emerson. It's disrespectful and offensive and negative, and we're sick and tired of it. Whoa, whoa, whoa. You married a good-willed woman. You didn't stand at the altar and say, you hate me and I hate you, so let's get married now. Her criticism and negativity and offensive reactions is her cry. You matter to her more than any adult at the level of intimacy. It's faint praise. It's been so faint you haven't heard it. But it's praise, true praise. I need you. She's not trying to emasculate you to get you to sing in the boys' choir at a high-pitched tenor. So the question is, will you decode? Will you decode? And women today are saying, I'm sick and tired of this. I'm offended by him. Nothing's positive in our marriage. He's unloving. No. He would die for you. And Jesus said, no greater love is a man than this, that he laid down his life for his friend. Your husband's not sentimental, but he is self-sacrificial, and he would die for you. And according to Jesus, he's loving, but he's not sentimental. And don't confuse the two. And he is confused himself, but I will tell you that when he feels disrespected, he will react in ways that feel unloving to you. But he's not trying to say to you, I don't love you. He's not trying to say that at all. He's miles away. And yet some of you are going to see lawyers because you've concluded he doesn't love you. No, he's reacting because he thinks you don't respect him. Will you decode? And will you model for your future daughter-in-law how to decode with the boy that nursed at your breast? And you know he's a good-willed boy, but will your daughter-in-law? Let me tell you a true story. This actually happened on a subway, but I'm going to put it on a bus. And so we're on this bus, and it's an all-night, ride from destination A to Z. It's a 14-hour bus ride, red-eye special. And you get on the bus, and it's almost all full except for 4 seats. And you sit down, and we're waiting for the last 4 to get on, and finally the last 4 get on. It's a father with his 3 children. And the father comes right down the aisle and sits right in front of you by the window, and he starts staring out the window. The bus doors close, and the children don't sit down with the father. Instead, as you sit back, and everybody sits back to put their eyes shut and start to get a little sleep, suddenly the bus starts rolling down, and one of the kids screams, the other screams, and then they run by, and they run by, and they run up and down, and suddenly there is chaos. These kids are out of control, and you sit up, the dad's just staring out the window, he ain't doing nothing. And these kids are in absolute chaos. So you sit up, everybody sits up, you're looking at everybody else in the bus, they're looking at you, and suddenly there's this silent vote. Everybody looks at you, and they vote you the chairperson to get the father's attention. Sir. 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 What? Would you have your children sit down? We'd like to get a little sleep. This is going to be an all-night bus ride. Your kids are out of control already. We haven't gone 1 minute. Would you have them sit down and be quiet? And he looks at you and he looks at everybody else and he says, oh, I'm sorry, sir. Everybody, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. Please forgive them. We just came from the hospital. My wife, their mother just died. Where did your emotions go? They went from anger, irritation, hostility to guilt, empathy, understanding. You wanted to put your arms around those children. You wanted to put your arms around that husband. How did that happen? Everything changed, but nothing changed. Everything changed, but nothing changed. How can that happen? In fact, the kids scream now louder than they've ever screamed. In fact, it's really actually technically worse. And now you really don't have any recourse. But somehow it doesn't make any difference. How is it that everything changed but nothing changed? Well, we got a little piece of information that helped us decode, just a little piece of information. That information was that husband just lost his wife. Those children just lost their mommy. Up to that point, we were bringing our experience to the situation. I know why that man's doing what he's doing. He's a liberal, permissive. He is just. That's why we have so many problems in America. Those were my kids for 3 weeks. This wouldn't be going on. And those kids are anti-authority, anti-adult. See, we're bringing to our experience these former experiences, and we're interpreting everything. And of course, our feelings are the voice of God. And so we are absolutely convinced. But when we drew that conclusion, we were actually wrong, even though we felt we were right. But when we got that information that decoded, he's in shock, and the kids are in shock. That's what a lover does when he loses his wife. He's in shock. And little kids act out when they lose their mommy because they never lost their mommy before. And suddenly things change. My friend, you're on a marital bus ride. And you're irritated, you're angry, you're so spit mad, and you're bringing to these episodes in your marriage your experience, your feelings, and you know you're right. Particularly when you can predict what your spouse is going to do. Because now you're a prophet. One of you is stonewalling. The other's running up and down the marital aisle, spasmodically wild. The question is, can Sarah and I, in our time together, give you a little piece of information that's going to decode something for you? Everything's going to change. But nothing's going to change. It might even get worse. But you've got to work with us. If you're sitting here thinking, I hope my spouse is listening to this guy, then you've already begun to miss it, because you're going to lose power. If you listen to me from your standpoint, what am I asking the man to do in relationship to the woman? What am I asking the woman to do in relationship to the man? You're going to get power. You're going to be able to touch their spirit. You're going to be empowered. You are not powerless. I'm going to tell you, if you have any degree of goodwill in this relationship, and don't just take a snapshot of something that happened that was evil. That doesn't necessarily mean that they were evil-willed. Adultery may have happened, but that doesn't necessarily mean that person's an evil-willed person because they've done evil things. You know, you've got to be very cautious before you conclude that your spouse is Hitler's distant cousin. And remember, that is the mommy or daddy of your child. So, let's look at our book here and the craziness, decoding the craziness. We saw the anniversary story, their marital craziness. And we saw the bus ride story, the need to decode. To decode. I believe your wife is crying out for love. She's not trying to say, I have as my campaign to send you a message of disrespect every day of my life. And your husband is trying to say, I need to feel that you still believe in me apart from my performance. I have a need for you to admire my spirit even though my flesh is weak. He's not trying to say to you, I do not love you. Even though he stonewalls you and shuts down, which in your pink world means I don't love you. Because you would never do that. B, his and her deepest value. What is the deepest value or need? Well, in the diet book, she hears, I don't love you. You can fill in the blank there. But sadly, that's not what he's trying to say. He could actually be trying to help. And in the marriage book, he hears, I don't respect you. But that's not what she's trying to say. She's actually trying to increase the feelings of love between you. She's not trying to send a message of disrespect. This is based on Ephesians 5:33. Nevertheless, let each individual among you also love his own wife, even as himself, and let the wife see to it that she respect her husband. Well, number 2, is this why things get crazy? Yes, without love, she reacts without respect. And without respect, he reacts without love. Round and round and round it goes. Where it stops, only the divorce lawyer knows. In our book, Motivating Your Man God's Way, book 1 and 2, and in book 2 we quote the book Why Marriages Succeed or Fail, and University of Washington, Gottman in particular, the professor there says, men are far more likely than women to be stonewallers, 85%. When tension builds, it often takes only the arrival of criticism. Men avoid emotional conflicts by going off by themselves. If you ask a male stonewaller to describe his state of mind, he often says, I'm trying not to react, though his wife perceives his silence as an act of hostility. The wife is likely to interpret his response as a rejection of her. She couldn't imagine needing to withdraw over such a minor criticism. Such interactions can produce a vicious cycle, especially in marriages with high levels of conflict. The more wives complain and criticize, the more husbands withdraw and stonewall. The more husbands withdraw and stonewall, the more wives complain and criticize. This cycle must be broken if marriages are to avoid dissolution. If the wife becomes belligerent and contemptuous, the husband is likely to withdraw even more. They studied 2,000 couples for 20 years, and this was the conclusion there in their love laboratory up at the University of Washington. Notice that contempt and belligerence is a problem on the part of the female. And I believe that her deepest cry is, I need you to love me, but she will choose this very disrespectful reaction. Why? Because it's natural for her to be disrespectful when she feels unloved. And what is it natural for a man to do? To stonewall and to do something that feels very unloving to the wife. It's not natural for him to be loving when he feels contempt and criticized, because he begins to hear that negative criticism as contempt for who he is as a human being. But notice Colossians 3:19, husbands, agape, love your wives. That's her need. Listen to 1 Peter 3, verses 1 and 2. This is about husbands. The women were asking Peter that day, how do I win my husband to Christ? He doesn't want to believe in Christ. He is not a Christ follower. And Peter says, even if any of them are disobedient to the word, they may be won without a word by the behavior of their wives as they observe your respectful behavior. Respectful behavior. What's interesting in this verse, ladies, this is proof that this respect is what we call unconditional. Just as love is to be unconditional. Did you know Hosea 3:1? The prophet was told to go win his wife. How? Through love. And she was an adulteress. And it says, go love a woman who's an adulteress. You win a woman, if you're going to ever win her anyway, through love. Love is what melts her heart. How do you win a man? Not by loving on him, but by giving him the gift of unconditional respect for his spirit. It's the way you deliver it. It's the way you come across. And that's what brings him under conviction. Notice in this text, this man is disobedient. He does not deserve respect. He has not earned respect. It's not about you feeling respect. It is about him needing to feel that you respect who he is in spite of his performance, just as every woman needs to feel loved for who she is in spite of her performance. No woman's nature will open up to a man who she feels is putting conditions on her. And no male will open up when he begins to feel that he must perform at a certain level before you will begin to believe in who he is deep within his soul. His nature just simply doesn't respond to it, especially between the two of you, because in courtship, you sent a message of unconditional belief in him. Both of you were in a dream world, and you looked up to him with a glow and said, I believe in you. But that first year of marriage, because he's less loving than you, he hurt you, unintentionally, but definitely. And as a result, you begin to react in disrespectful ways, telling him day in and day out you love him, but that you don't respect him. And he doesn't know how to get it back. He's at a loss to know what to do. And he will surface, you don't respect me, and you say, I don't. And so he just shuts down. We'll explain, though, how to deal with this. Number 3, are you sure love and respect are these deepest needs? Well, both science and Scripture reveal the code about the two deepest values in marriage. In fact, Gottman's research at the University of Washington, after studying those 2,000 couples for 20 years, he said, now we know what the two key ingredients are for successful marriage. His book, Why Marriages Succeed or Fail, in that he says, we now know the two key ingredients. You know what they are? Love and respect. love and respect. The Bible said that 2,000 years ago. But listen to these scriptures. Genesis 29:32. Surely now my husband will love me.